pieces all about her, well, I'll have to say challenging experience. I know it would be for me. So please help me in welcoming a true soul friend, Iyanla Vanzant.
But I can't start here, right? Or will I scream? Will it make it scream if I stay here? Let me go over here. People give you what you want and then you don't want it. It is said that a master is not one with many students, but a master is one who creates many masters. I stand before you today as a master, not of my own doing, but because of the teachers that I have had in this very process. Master teachers create those who go on to be masters. So I don't think that there are enough words that I could use to thank this entire faculty and our Chancellor, John Rogers, John Morton, who I've been in love with for a long time. I can't even look. You know, like when you're rich and famous and you see somebody that's rich and famous, you say, So before I begin this afternoon, I just have a confession, because I believe that confession is good for the soul, and I want my soul to be clear when I speak to you today. So I have a confession. Mary, I love your husband. Even more than I love John Moore. I just want to confess that and get it out the way. Because the master that he is just made me want to be a better person. I want you to know that. And that's not all. I have another confession. Ron, I love your wife. Now y'all are totally confused, right? I love your wife more than John Morton. Because the love that she is made me a better person. I thank you. I cannot thank you enough, and I know each one of you knows what I mean today. But 10 years from now, when this stuff really starts to get anchored, and no longer is what you know, but is actually who you are, you will understand what these two masters have created for you. So I thank you. I never know what I'm going to say, ever. Sometimes I get the title a week in advance and I just let the message flow. Sometimes I get the title as they're introducing me, and that's really starting to wreak havoc on me. I only knew that I had to wear orange for you today because I know what you are birthing into the universe. So when I thought about your message, I called upon those great philosophers of yesteryear, and they gave me the message to bring to you today. So I want to speak to you very briefly, because I know, particularly for the family, that your mind can only absorb what your bottoms can endure. And you've endured quite a few moments of this. So I'm going to treat you like Liz Taylor treated her husbands. I'm not going to keep you long. This was such a respectable event until now, right? Okay, I'm gonna be nice after I take my shoes off. So I want to speak to you today and bring you the great philosophy of the great philosophers, the Doobie Brothers. When they said it is time to take it to the streets. Taking it to the streets. And that is your charge. What I am aware of is very often those of us on the spiritual path and those of us who grow and those of us who become enlightened, we like to be among like-minded people. We want to have conversations with people who understand what we're talking about, and they give us their enlightenment and we give them theirs. But the Doobie Brothers are saying, take it to the streets. Take it to the streets. Let us not always want to be among people who are like we are, who think like we are, who speak like we speak, but let us be willing to take it to the streets, where the need is growing greater and greater and greater, moment by moment by moment. People are suffering. In their minds, in their hearts, in their lives, people are suffering because we like to keep our spiritual education to ourselves. And it's safe that way because you know that once you get out of here, you just speak differently. And people have a tendency to look at you when you start with your spiritualese, and they wonder, are you on meds? That sounded a little strange. Have you ever really tried to speak love and consciousness and compassion to someone who is addicted to suffering? They just got to have something going wrong all the time. Have you ever really tried to speak to them about their own empowerment? And it can be very frustrating, but the time that we're living in calls us forward, and it's time for taking it to the streets. We've got to take our love and our compassion and our presence and our being and our excellence to the streets, because people are dying for lack of knowledge. They are dying in fear. They are dying in struggle. They are dying in their addiction. So, my charge to you is let's take this to the streets, and not from a position of we've got it and they don't. Let's take it to the streets from a place of I have it and I want to give you some. You have it and I want some of what you are. Let's take it to the streets, not being tempted to fix or change people, but let us just be an inspiration, and let us be a stand. Let us be a light, and let us know that a way to a person's heart is not through their stomach, but from the shards of light that come forward when our teeth in the grace of our hello. Let us take this to the streets. And let the shards of light from our smile begin to penetrate the walls of racism and sexism and homophobia and terrorism of all kinds, simply because we show up in our peacefulness and give people permission to be the truth of who they are. Let's take it to the streets. We have to take this learning and this knowledge and our presence to the streets in such a way that people want some of who we are. Have you ever wondered, it amazes me, because I come out the projects off welfare, and all I have to do is show up and people are excited. I'm trying to wonder sometimes, they waiting for me. Yes, because when we bring who we are in the fullness